Hello, folks. Lately, I've been investing some time in learning Playwright, and I want to make some comparisons because I really like it. So, on the left side, we're looking at an API e2e test with Cypress, and on the right side, we're looking at a Playwright test for the same API e2e. We do a post to our to-dos, use Spark to do assertions on the status and the body, and we yield the body ID, and then we do get all, make sure the status is fine, the body's fine. You could even shorten this one, by the way, using Spark. I would also want to show like a extended way of doing it if you don't use Spark. We get one to do, get to do's ID, Spark that status body ID, making sure the ID is same, the update, right? And then we do a get on the updated thing, we delete, then we make sure we do another get and that thing's gone. So the same version of that on the Playwright side. Here's the post to do's. They use this data property and then we pass it like that. So on the left side, we use body. On Playwright, we use data. And then it comes as request post. So it comes as a property of the request entity. We have to yield the body as JSON. So I believe this one, the response is stringified, and then this one parses it. Status, yield the ID. So you see it's right to left, quite imperative. Similar to just kind of assertions here. It has to be one step at a time. We could set up Spark here, but it doesn't look any prettier at the end. So it's better to stick with the original assertions. Get all, very similar to post, the assertion, and then getting one to do. As you see with every request, we have to yield the body and the status and then make assertions on those. So very imperative, very line by line. If you look at the length of the code, let me just zoom out. So it is a 76 lines versus 72 lines. On the left side, we see that like most of the line lengths are some parentheses. And we see that like left to right, the code on the left side is less. Right? So Playwright, yes, it's a bit more code, but I can do the same thing. What I really like about Playwright is how fast it opens and um, that it can, like, if you have a good processor, um, it can run everything in parallel all at once. I really like that. So here, I open Cypress and then I run that test. Okay, it's fast, right? It's good. I mean, the time, the execution speed of the test is nothing, right? That is reliant on your API. But I like how it comes fast. Like Playwright, Cypress was fast, but Playwright, I guess, double as fast. But I do have an M4 processor. What I really, really like is being able to run everything with I don't know how many processes, everything all together at once, right? Given that not all my tests are set up to be extremely stateless. Like there could be some like this bullshit test, isolation test, which is like one hit block per like action, horrible blasphemy. But by the way, this is all from Gleb's course, Cypress versus Playwright, the original. So I took it, I reinterpreted it, I made some many modifications, and I added this API E2E today. So I want to make the API E2E comparison. But if you want to look at the whole thing, like learn from Gleb. He has this amazing course, Cypress versus Playwright. I learned from there. And then, of course, anything I learn that I build on top of it, I try different things, right? So this is my version. Anyway, so that's what I really like. Like I can just boom, run everything all at once, and that's pretty cool, right? And never mind the lack of statelessness in some of these tests, right? Like both these tests are trying to crack something, maybe they're not happy together, but you really run it after, it's fine. It's also a good check for the statelessness of your test suite, right? Like you want to make sure everything can run at the same time. These, not all these can run at the same time. That's fine. Like this is just some POC. Anyway, so that's something I like. So looking at the CRUD test, right? On the Cypress side, like we do explicitly see every call. Like here's the get call, and this is a post call, this is a get call, and then the lower down we go, like we see the whole story all at once, right? Like what is the ID of this CRUD thing? It's whatever this is, right? So I could like go all the way here and then Control F it right here, right? I could look at it on the right side and see like the full story at a high level. which is pretty cool. And then you know the how you can click on the the command pane, and then you can like get information, like you get the full story of everything. Also, like whatever you see in this pane, you also get it in DevTools. Let's look at it on the Playwright side. So this is the same test. Now, something I like in Playwright is you can map. So right now I'm here in the action side. You can map each one of these into the part in the code. So with Cypress, that may take a little bit of work, right? Like that I think that's something they could improve, but Playwright has it. I like that a lot. That's pretty cool. But as you see, like we don't really get any information of what's happening with the API. That information is in like some of it is in the call tab. So let's say like yeah. So the API requires context get, right? So there was a get request to here, and then we see the string response. Of course, that dot JSON, dot status, whatever, right? That parses that, so the runner can like we can read it. So we get some of that. I don't think this is useful, but this part is somewhat useful. So let's say this is like the post to those requests. We see the request here, like the request body is here. We see this is not useful, but the body is useful, right, obviously. Right? And then I guess so. You have to keep switching. Like I wish they kind of like put the HTTP verb here, but you can switch back to get and then body here, right? You can see the result of that. And then, yeah, this like gives you the ID. I wish, it was explicitly kind of showing, hey, this is it. Like it's a lot more clear in Cypress what the heck is going on, right? Like and it's more connected. Like whatever you click on, it's right there on the right side. It's right there in DevTools. The observability experience is better in Cypress, but it's not missing in Playwright. Like you can figure things out if you want to. Um, Now, given this is not an amazing test, like one test I would like to do, like this is simple, and this is just testing the JSON server anyway. But the real test would be, like I say, we have some event-driven stuff, like they have Kafka, and then whatever you create, something happens asynchronously somewhere else, right? You want to make assertion for that. So I would like to see how Playwright uh, behaves with that. They do have a pretty cool like assertion. It ends like this. So await blah 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 to pass. So they have like nice built-in recursion versus the Cypress recurse spot combo that I like to do. So they have that. They're not missing anything. Um, so the only thing is, like super fast. I love it. I love how fast it is. Developer experience a little lacking. Okay, so that's my opinion. And you can form your own. Looking at the code, yes, it's more code. There's more code to do the same thing. But it's quite explicit. It's quite declarative. So if you like that style, maybe some people like that. I don't really like it. So for this one, for instance, I made a helper. So because my eyes were bleeding, like explicitly doing this. This is not brain work, right? Like it's busy work. So I made some helper called API request. So it takes a method URL body. So it's similar to like some other tools, including Cypress. And then that one immediately yields the body and status in the format that you would use. Like who's going to use the non-status version of this or non-JSON version? Like never going to use it. So it yields it in the body in the format that you would use. So when we do that, it is a little better actually, right? So we don't have to keep doing this blah blah JSON blah blah status thing, right? So I like that helper, and the way you make helpers are, I mean, I like how they do it. Do I like it more than or less than Cypress? I don't think it matters. But the way I do it, uh, they want to push you into the page object anti-pattern, anti-pattern. But the way I like doing is, and they make everything available. That's the thing. Like they like that's a you're free to do what you want, and they give you all the tools. Right? So I like to have the 1 mega fixture file. So imagine this as like your command spec. And maybe I have like some base stuff, some network related stuff, some API stuff. Everything's here though. So what I'm able to do once everything's like that is any test I can just import like the stuff I'm using right here, right? And I just have to, instead of importing test and expect from Playwright, I have to import it from this file. And that gives me access to this thing called API because as you see, like I didn't import it there, I imported it from the test context. I guess they call that context. Anyway, so the file that the code is in for the helper is, I guess it's in plain functions. I like to put these functions in like by themselves in JavaScript format because you see like how it takes like this additional argument called page and request. Those are the playwright arguments that you use everywhere. So usually this would be request and then the request being used everywhere, right? So you write it like that, and then this one goes to the API e2e fixtures actually. So you import that function, and this is that function being used. That you see like the extra request argument here. But I say, okay, when I use it, I don't care, right? Because like as the user, I don't care if the request thing is involved here. I want to use this guy. So this is a way how you simplify that process. And then you can use these helpers, whatever, any way you want. Right? As you see, I have a few. Like this one is for API E2E. This one is I have like some helper for spying on things, spot stubbing things. I use this a lot. You can imagine like page object related things for these helpers, right? It could be whatever picture, so long as you don't repeat yourself, like these things don't have uh, like stuff from each other, and I don't think they will. Like it's not it's probably not a good idea to shape them after pages, which is why I say page and type pattern. But you can modularize them and then not repeat yourself, but then have access to anything you need within the test context, right? So they give you all the tooling, uh, whether that's imperative, all that's fine, right? So I do like it. But I would say for sure, developer experience goes to Cypress, right? And for the coding also, it goes to Cypress. But Playwright, you would probably do like as the engineer, do things towards making that developer experience easier. However, you don't really do have to do any work versus for performance or stability at scale. That's the work you do with Cypress, and I think that is a little more painful work. I like the other kind of work that you would do with Playwright. Although, like you would have to probably reinvent a lot of the plugins and stuff that you take for granted on the Playwright side. Um, CI speed wise, like this parallel thing locally on a beefy machine is amazing. In CI, this doesn't mean too much. CI runs on VirtualBox. They have two workers, so you don't do the parallelism like you do locally in CI, and even in the settings. Like if you're in CI, like keep the workers to one, right? Otherwise, use maximum that you can use when you're local. So you do sharding in CI, and I didn't do sharding just yet here, just to do the speed comparison. And I leaned out the YAML quite a bit, right? Like I only test on Chrome because who gives a shit, right? Like if you're testing cross browser still, I don't know what you're doing, but okay, if you want to do it, you do it. Um, so it will have a fixed rate about these caching Playwright browsers and uh, cache like installing one browser or like using the cache for one browser. That's going to be fixed rate. The only thing that's going to move is like running the actual test. One thing I like about Playwright is like you can start the application. It starts the application right away. If it's running, it doesn't start it. If it's not running, it starts it. But in CI, it seems like it starts the application faster than Cypress does with the GitHub Action job. So that's what I've observed. Um, as you see here, well, not much here, right? But this is nothing. I will show you like flaky skipped, but it will also give you a report. Uh, what the heck is this artifact, right? Yeah, and then you download it. It gives you trace viewer, all that. So if you don't have something like Cypress Cloud, this is nice, but you can't really compare to that. And that's a nice, super nice paid product. But if you don't have budget for that, you're working for a client, they want something free. This is good enough. Um, so as you see here, it shows you like some flaky, some fast. So that's 40 tests because I have some like different versions of the Playwright test. So 40 tests, they ran in 36 seconds, it says. But this does include the time it took to start the test. And you see the whole thing finishing, how long is this though? 1 minute, 27 seconds, right? If you look at the Cypress, So that whole thing is loaded into the Cypress job. So like browser or like starting, installing, right? It does take a little more time starting. If you look at the test, I mean, the report is much nicer. Right? That's give me that. If you look at the final thing, it says, hey, I ran it in, ran the whole thing in, where is this? It says, yeah, it ran in 20 seconds, but this is just the time the test ran, like because this was some time installing, there was some time like starting the application, um, and you see 32 tests. So 32 tests versus 40 tests, and the total time for everything is 2 minutes and 9 seconds. On the Playwright side, you see like about what is it, almost 40 seconds faster. Even it ran more tests. So even on single machine, uh, Playwright's faster, right? And I can see how. So when you parallel that this proportion, of course, it is going to be less, right? Because parallelization just trumps everything. But even then, you will save time with shard. Is it going to be insane? I don't think it's going to be insane, but it's going to be something. I can already see one machine versus one machine. It's quite a bit faster. Uh, just it starts things up faster. It runs obviously a little faster. 40 tests, 36. I mean, I think the like 37 seconds it says, right? But this does include the time to start the app. So I don't know how you would remove that from there. So 32, 37 it says here, like 20 something it says for the test here. But since it starts the application pretty fast, I think that makes a difference. So you'd have to like, yeah, you'd have to like look how they differ at scale. But this is what I see for now. On that, I mean, I guess those are all my opinions for now. Yeah, this is pretty cool, and you can see this repo, Cypress PV Murat's version, to try out all sorts of Playwright versus Cypresses. So like they mirror each other. This was the API test. Um, yeah, that's it. Yeah, enjoy.